There's a line I keep coming back to. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. Sit with that for a second. No order of difficulty, which means the miracle you need today, whatever that is for you, isn't harder to come by than any other miracle. It's not standing in a line behind a bigger problem. That's where I want to start today, because everything we're going to talk about in the next few minutes comes back to that one idea. That thing standing between you and peace isn't as complicated as your mind wants to make it. Welcome to the Holy Instant. A Course in Miracles points us towards a single goal, union with God. Not as an abstract idea, but as something real and available in the middle of every day. This podcast lives at that intersection. Mysticism, not on a mountaintop, but in a kitchen, in the quiet, in the mess. I'm Lori, and I'm so glad you found your way here. Welcome back. Today we're working through some core ideas from A Course in Miracles, specifically how fear shows up in two different costumes, why the ego is always hungry and never full, and what it actually means to choose light instead of fighting darkness. Whatever your relationship to the word God is, whatever you want to substitute for it, whether that's source, love, consciousness, whatever lands for you, the structure underneath this still works. So stay with me, even if the language is in your native tongue. Here's something I think most of us miss. We tend to think of fear as one thing. It's not. It shows up in two completely different costumes, and most of us are far more familiar with one than the other. The first face is unworthiness and abandonment. This is the quiet one. It sounds like not being enough, not doing enough, and having to earn love. It's the version of fear that makes you feel broken, like you perpetually behind on some invisible scorecard. The second phase is attack and control. This one is louder. It shows up as power struggles, as needing to be right, as perfectionism aimed outward at other people, at situations, demanding they conform. It can even show up as a quiet sense of superiority. Here's the part that matters. These are two different problems. They're the same fear, just facing two different directions. One collapses inward. One pushes outward. And the way out of both isn't more effort in either direction. It's landing in the middle, neutral ground, peace. So here's a question we're sitting with, not answering right now, just noticing. Which one is more familiar to you? Do you collapse or do you push? Just notice. We're not fixing it yet. We're just getting honest about the shape it takes in your life. This next one took me a while to actually get, so let me try to make it land quickly for you. The idea is this. The ego believes it made itself, not God, not anything outside itself. It authored itself. And because of that belief, it spends its whole existence at war trying to defend a claim that was never true to begin with. Think about what that does. If you believe you're the sole author of your own existence, then anything that suggests otherwise, anything that asks you to depend on something bigger than you, anything that asks for trust, starts to feel like a threat. Love itself starts to feel dangerous because love asks you to not be in total control. That's the trap. The ego mistakes dependence for weakness. It mistakes being authored, being created, being loved into existence rather than self-made as some kind of insult. The correction isn't complicated. Even if it's hard to actually live, you didn't make yourself. And that's not a loss. That's a relief. You don't have to hold the whole structure up by yourself anymore. Where in your life are you trying hardest to be the only author? Controlling every outcome, managing how you're perceived, insisting on doing it all alone. What would it actually feel like to let that be someone else's, something else's, to hold even just a little? This is the one that I think explains so much modern unhappiness, honestly, even outside of any spiritual framework. The ego is always searching, always trying to get the next thing and the next achievement, the next relationship, the next milestone, the next validation, because it believes there's a void inside it, and that void can be filled only from the outside. Here's the cruelty of it. It never works. Each time you get the thing, the goal, it just moves further away. The satisfaction is always just out of reach because the seeking was never actually about the object. It was about the fear underneath, the belief that you are somehow incomplete and need an external thing to complete you. The miracle here isn't getting more. It's the recognition that you already have what you actually need, simply by being what you already are, not earning it, not collecting enough proof, already whole. So here's something worth taking with you after this episode ends. Think of something you've been chasing lately, a goal, a milestone, and just ask, quietly, without judgment, what am I actually looking for underneath that? Now here's a reframe that changes everything once it clicks. Darkness is not the opposite of light. It's just the absence of it. That's a different thing entirely. You cannot fight darkness directly. You can't push it out, wrestle it down, defeat it through force, because it isn't actually a force. It's an absence. And the only way to deal with an absence is to fill it. You don't have to fight darkness. You bring light to it. That's the whole instruction. Not defeat your fear, bring light to it. Not destroy the negative pattern, bring light to it. And here's the part I find genuinely comforting. The light isn't something you have to go find or earn or build. It's described as always present, only overlooked. You're not manufacturing light from nothing. You're just turning towards what was already there. Think of a relationship or a situation in your life right now that feels stuck or heavy or dark. What would it actually look like to bring light into it instead of fighting whatever feels dark about it? Last idea, and then we'll bring this all together. There's a distinction between two ways of relating to the world: projection and extension. Projection is what the ego does. It casts outward whatever within itself. You see this constantly, probably in yourself if you're honest, and definitely in other people. Most in others are very often the things we haven't made peace within ourselves yet. Extension is the opposite movement. It shares love and truth without conditions attached, not projecting fear outward, but extending what's already whole within, outward and freely. And there's this idea that you are, and I'm using the language of the text here, the cornerstone of that thought system. Not separate from the light, not burning your way towards it, already structurally part of it. So, where are you projecting right now? Putting onto someone else what you haven't actually accepted in yourself? And where are you extending, actually sharing something good without strings attached? Okay, let's bring this all together because I don't want to leave you with 5 disconnected ideas. Here's the thread. Fear shows up as a collapse or a control. The ego thinks it's authored itself and wages a quiet war to defend that lie. It searches endlessly for something outside to fill a void that was never real. It projects fear outward instead of extending love. And underneath every single one of these patterns is one simple choice, repeated constantly, moment to moment. Expansion towards love or contraction into fear. That's it. That's the whole choice, dressed up in 100 different daily situations. 3 things to remember before you go. You didn't make yourself. You're already whole. And lastly, when darkness shows up in a relationship, in your own head, wherever, you don't fight it. You bring light. If any of this landed for you, the practice this week is simple. Journal on the questions we sat with today, and when you notice yourself either collapsing or attacking, just pause and ask, which direction am I facing right now? And is there a third option here? Neutral ground or peace? That's the episode. Thanks for sitting with this one with me, and I will see you next time.